All right, Shalom. It's your brother Quashab coming back at you with another quick hit. All right, before I get started, I want to give our praises, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rachakodash. The honors to the apostles and y'all's a great millstone. I'm talking the truth, rule well, and peace, blessings, and salutations be to those elect, as well as those that believe in the gospel and may you endure to the end, Lord willing. All right, and we're gonna get straight into it, man. All right, because what we have going on now, right, which this is about a couple days old that Trump tweeted this, but it just kind of came back around full circle. I was watching the elder brother, GMS Inspiration of the Almighty, going into some clips, all right, which I'm gonna play one, but ultimately how these nations don't want to help this whore, all right, in which, is another form of biblical prophecy being fulfilled, all right. Now, it says the United States has been informed by most of our NATO allies that they don't want to get involved with our military operation against the terrorist regime of Iran in the Middle East. This despite the fact that almost every country strongly agreed with what we are doing and that Iran cannot in any way, shape, form be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. I am not surprised by the action. However, because I always considered NATO, where we spend hundreds of billions of dollars per year protecting these same countries, to be a one-way street, we will protect them, but they will do nothing for us, in particular in time of need, all right, which is ultimately prophecy. In time of need, these countries are actually going to turn on America, all right, and, in which we have the Israelis, all right, the fake Jews that's over there in the land, ultimately leading them into their destruction, right? But these other countries, they not with it, man. You see? So it says, fortunately, we have decimated Iran's military, which is not true. Their Navy is gone, the Air Force is gone, the anti-aircraft and radar is gone. Perhaps most importantly, their leaders at virtually every level are gone, never to threaten us, our Middle Eastern allies, or the world again. Because of the fact that we've had such military success, we no longer need or desire the NATO countries' assistance. We never did, all right? And so, this devil gonna eat his words, right? So if you're winning this war by such a landslide, why is there a need to deploy, which I seen earlier today, about another 3,000 troops, after this devil said he was sending about 5,000 Marines. He comes back today and say he's sending about 3,000 more. I believe it's the Airborne, 82nd Airborne, over there to the Middle East. So if you're winning this war by such a large margin, why is there the need to send more troops, all right? Because when you don't look at the American media, when you look at alternative media, alternative news, they'll tell you that America getting their ass handed to them. Israel getting pummeled by missiles every day, man. You see? And ultimately, the economy is now suffering, as I said it would. And I went into a lesson on this when this thing first broke out, which we in about 3 weeks now. That all of these things will lead to famines, and food shortages. Just strictly from the whole situation that's going on with the Strait of Hormuz. All right. And with these countries, once you get the people like China, all right, Russia involved, these countries are, it's going to be America and Israel versus everybody, all right? Because they actually live in these different continents where they have to deal with China, all right? Germany's been suffering since the Ukraine war, when the U.S. put sanctions on them. They've been suffering since, right? In which they actually had to go back and deal with Russia, right? Through which we know is the Nord Stream pipeline, man, But the problem is, like I did a lesson on last week, the pride of this devil is he just thinks that it's just nothing, and he's just invincible, man.
Trump called
right? But
7 countries and asked for help. Every single one of them said no. China, which gets 90% of its... Trump called 7 countries and asked for help. Every single one of them said no. China, which gets 90% of its oil through this strait, went completely silent. Japan, depending on the Middle East for 95% of its energy, said its constitution prevents military deployments abroad. Australia said it was simply not something they were contributing to. Britain offered drones but firmly refused to send a single warship. Not one country said yes. And Trump had 3 words for every single one of them. We will remember. Now here is what that silence is actually costing the world. The Strait of Hormuz has been closed for 3 weeks. One country said yes, and Trump had 3 words for every single one of them. We will remember. Now here is what that silence is actually costing the world.
So as you can see,
I believe that was it.
So as you can see,
yeah, and that just backs up, what I brought out with the clip. It's more countries, Spain, Portugal, all of these countries that's actually part of the whore, all right, and what you know as of America, all right. All these countries are actually don't want anything to do, all right, with Babylon the Great. All right, let me bring this out real quick. This Jeremiah 50, because we're gonna come back to that Revelation. All right, let's do 49. I think it's 50 and 20. All right, it's 49. Let's get that. Let me see. Let's do this. Select it 1 second. Damn, my mind just drew a blank. I think it's 51 and 25. $50 and $45. All right. Now this is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 45. It says, "Therefore hear ye the counsel of Yahweh that he had taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he had proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them." All right. And that's what is happening now. All right. The least of the flock, which is the Israelis, all right, is drawing out America to what? To battle. Okay. Against the who? The Iranians, all right, which we know as the modern day Persians, in which, this is eventually is going to turn into a water war. Okay. You're going to have all of the main players at play. All right. China, Russia, the NATO nations are going to have to get involved, but they're going to take sides with who? Russia and China, right? They're going to hate this whore and make her desolate, right? So when you go to Revelation, and come back to the Obadiah, all right, and the Jeremiah 50, all right. So when you go to Revelation, the 17th chapter, I believe, right? And this is, we can start at verse 15. He said unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth, all right, which the whore represents America, all right? And it's telling you, it's with the vision from, he's pretty much breaking down the vision that he had on what the waters are, right? It says peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, all right? So the waters which the whore sitteth, all right, these are the NATO nations, all right, the EU, all right, all of these nations, man, right? Because America has ruled the planet Earth, all right, through what? Death and destruction, man, all right? This is why they have all of these military bases, pretty much set up in all of these different parts of the globe. Why? Because they're the ones that are in power, all right, the so-called white man, all right? Verse 16, it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." All right, the 10 horns represents what? NATO and the EU. Okay, all of these nations that were in league with Babylon, all right, that had made a deal with Babylon, to follow their ways and all of these philosophies and democracy that, comes in the name of America, all right, they're going to do what? Press the button and shoot missiles on this whore, okay? Now it says, verse 17, "For the Most High had put it in their hearts," right, which their heart is your what? Your la'ab, your mind, to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of our power shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right. Like I said, that whore, that woman, is refers to as America. All right. She's the one reigning over the kings of the earth, man. All right. Which is why ultimately, when the Lord puts the spirit on these other nations, all right, starting with Russia on down, these people, you know, once the MOTB has been initiated and all of these other prophecies, Jacob's trouble and famine of the word and all of these other prophecies that's soon coming to pass, right? Once these things go down, man, it's going to be like a big party on pressing a button on America, you see? And it tells you, when you go back to Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, that even Great Britain is going to shoot missiles on its whore, right? In which it says that your mother shall be sore confounded on you, right? Because, you know, America was birthed, you know, which, you know, you had the 13 colonies, all right? But it actually was birthed out of who? Great Britain, man, all right? Through something called the, oh, man, it slipped my tongue, slipped my mind. But the, I think it's the East Indian Act or something like that. You know, don't quote me on it. But through that, okay, you can go look that up. You'll find it. I had just looked at it not too long ago. It says Jeremiah 50 verse 25, though. It says, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Okay, so even Great Britain is going to shoot rocks off at this whore. You see, and when you go to Jeremiah 51, it tells you that in verse 7 that Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's Yahweh hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken them for wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. You see, but it's going to go on and say it can't be healed, and this place is ultimately going to be destroyed. All right, and the nations that have drunken of that wine, which is goes into the democracy, right, the philosophies of America, okay, they're seeing that these things have done nothing but what? Pollute their people, all right, turn them into sodomites, total chaos in the land, you know. It's done nothing but pollute the actual people. So what? They're like, man, it's not what we were promised, okay? So they're going to hate this whore, right? The nations are, you can see now that they're fed up, right? And then you still have the leader of the free world, so-called, right, which is Nero 47, still what? Being prideful, man, all right? Well, he's going to be prideful to the times that the missiles fall on America, you see? But we're going to end it off in Obadiah, right? And we'll get verse 7, okay? I'm going to read both in the KJV and the NLT. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Excuse me. It said, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. And they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, said Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of Mount Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. You see? Now you read in the NLT, it says, all your allies will turn against you. They will help to chase you from your land. They will promise you peace while plotting to destroy. It's like while plotting to deceive and destroy you. Your trusted friends will set traps for you, and you won't even know about it. And we can see that that's what these JOOs are doing now. All right, they've set a trap for Babylon to enter into this war. Okay, which you know we really know is through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right, but they've set a trap for you to get involved with this war with Iran, and now what? You started the beginning stage of World War III, man. You know, it says, verse 8, at that time, not a single wise person will be left in the whole land of Edom. For says the Lord, for on the mountains of Edom I will destroy everyone who has understanding. The mightiest warriors of Teman will be terrified, and everyone in the mountains of Edom will be cut down in the slaughter. You see? And that's what we are getting ready to see, all right? In full effect, all right? The Allies turning against America and hating Babylon the whore, you see? But that's pretty much the point. You know, I just wanted to get into a quick lesson on that. And, you know, you can ultimately go look up some news and things that's happening. You know, you can look at these different outlets of other countries that don't want to get involved, and they give you the reasons why. You see? But, you know, with that, man, I'm going to go ahead and give call her Loimla, Yahweh Bashim Shah